Trump has federalized Washington, D.C. and taking over. President Trump declared a public safety emergency in D.C., placing the Metropolitan Police Department under federal control and deployed 800 National Guard troops to the area. Trump framed this as Liberation Day for the Capitol, citing recent violent crimes. Didn't we already have Liberation Day? I thought April. When he did the tariffs. April. That was supposed to be Liberation Day. How many Liberation Days do you get in 1 year?
As many as he wants.
We've had zero real Liberation Days.
Go ahead.
No, we've had precisely zero real Liberation Days.
Brandon,
we've had a ton of bullshit
tariffs.
days.
Are you kidding
What, the
me?
ones we just paused on China again for 90 days that aren't going to happen?
Do you see the results?
What results?
Well, we're already getting money from it.
A drop in the bucket.
It's better than no drops in the bucket when you're thirsty.
What is the actual amount that's come in from the
20 billion?
20 billion.
But we increased the military budget from 800 billion to $1 trillion. So that's a net loss.
So less than 1/5 of the actual military budget increase is what we brought in with tariffs.
Yes.
Brandon, he's doing well with the tariff. He's doing
No, he's
well
not.
with. He's doing
C.
great.
C minus with the tariffs.
He's doing great
C
with the
minus.
border.
No, he's not.
What do you mean?
He hasn't
What do you mean?
deported anybody. We deported like a couple 100,000 people.
Yeah, but have you seen the amount of people coming through? There's a 99% drop in migrants coming through the Darien Gap.
Well, it's easy
they
when
say
there's
they have
millions.
not had a single person come over the border illegally. Now, I don't know how they can track this, but not a single person has had an encounter with customs border patrol officers and then were let into the country, whereas it was a 3,000% increase the year before when Joe Biden.
It's easy
per
to have,
day.
It's easy to have 99% drop off when you have that many coming in. Where are the deportations? We're not even on pace to have a million deportations this year.
Can you give him some credit?
No.
No credit.
No.
Oh my God.
No, he's disgusting.
Brandon,
Trump is disgusting.
Yeah.
Why?
We just went
Because
to LA.
he's not dismantling anything that needs to be dismantled, like the whole systematic corruption and disgustingness of the government. Like he promised he was gonna get rid of. He hasn't touched it. He's only added to it, to be honest.
So
All right,
I mean,
you fucking do it.
would
Run
you
for
not?
president.
I will.
Would you
You
not
do it.
consider deploying the National Guard to restore order in the Capitol then part of that, or is that
No, that's bad.
Okay, we haven't even got into story.
so Rob,
he
explain this to us.
pledged- Okay, so-
we need to weaken federal power.
Okay, stop yelling, first of all.
What do you mean?
What do you think? You yell louder, he's going to hear
Yeah,
it? Trump pledged to dismantle homeless encampments. Now, we were in D.C.
I like
in
that.
January for the inauguration, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, it was great watching all of the keyboard warriors yesterday on Facebook calling Trump a tyrant for deploying the National Guard and talking about how safe Washington, D.C. is. When I asked people who were posting that, when was the last time that you were in Washington, D.C.? No one could answer that question. I had a bunch of Florida hack comedians that I'm friends with on Facebook bitching about Trump federalizing troops in Washington, D.C. And the question was, when was the last time you went to D.C.? And they went, well, I haven't been in a few years. And I went, well, I went in January. And I can tell you, there are homeless people everywhere, literally blocks away from the White House. When you're walking down towards the White House, you're passing homeless encampments on the highway, just tents out there, and this is January.
You guys got attacked.
Remember, well, those were lefty lunatics, but yes.
You did get attacked.
Pat
Yes or
got
no?
attacked.
All
I
right.
didn't.
Those should get ousted too.
But literally, you're talking about they canceled the outdoor inauguration because it was so freezingly cold up in D.C. that Trump didn't want people to be exposed to the elements. These people were living inside of tents in that environment. So it's not like it's going to get any better during the summertime. If these people can survive the wintertime, you think they're just going to flee somewhere else during the summer? No, they're still there. There are encampments everywhere of homeless people, just like L.A. We saw them when we were in L.A. So to sit here and go, well, Washington, D.C., I see the stats. D.C. leaders criticize the takeover, pointing to a 26% drop in violent crime, the lowest crime rate in 30 years. It doesn't solve the homelessness problem, and they're everywhere up there.
But also the violent crime problem, you can't take them at their word, because what they do is they shift how they record the crimes. If you cannot trust the crime stats because they are being manipulated, then there's no reason to believe that that's actually happening. No, we reduced violent crime by 26%. Yeah, because you stopped prosecuting or even recording 26% of the violent crime. Like, the thing that inspired Trump to do this most recently, we saw Big Balls, the guy from Doge,
Very
Yes.
suspicious.
get beaten to a pulp by a mob of teenagers on the street.
Very
which
suspicious.
happens all the time.
You don't believe that he was attacked?
I'm not saying I don't believe it, but it's super weird that the guy whose dad used to work for the KGB
Grandfather.
Yeah, and also was the guy who went viral for whatever reason, just because it was a stupid nickname, is the guy who supposedly gets beaten up, and then supposedly after Elon Musk says, "Oh, we need to federalize DC," Trump federalizes DC. It's weird.
Okay, we gotta talk about this then. What do you believe
I was
would
not
be a
gonna
real
ask,
thing?
because
Like,
if you don't
if
believe it-
everything is an op, then what actually happens?
Well, you
what
know
do
the
you
problem,
believe in?
You know what the problem is that Trump doesn't seem to be in control of anything right now. I don't know who this person is, but he's not acting like the guy who ran for president. So
So you don't even believe that this is the same Trump that you voted for Trump, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe
Well, if I
that the
said no.
person that we're watching right now is the same person that you voted for in November?
he's sure not acting like it. He's acting like somebody who's being held captive by somebody that he's terrified of, or somebody that was lying to us and misrepresenting himself the entire time that he was running for president. Because either he's stupid or he's controlled. Because what he's doing right now is not putting us in a good direction, not putting us on a good path to prosperity or freedom.
Marching the National Guard into the Capitol to restore order between street crime and homelessness seems to be well within the purview of the federal
For
government.
DC, yes, but
Yeah.
not for anywhere else. Because and he was starting to threaten that for other
Yeah,
places.
but
Because
what,
DC
what
is-
is the alternative? We just talked about this on our last episode when we brought up Nayib Bukele in El Salvador. Would you rather live in an unlivable hellhole that is overrun by violent criminals, or have the military crack down on them and improve your quality of life?
Listen, I get the argument for fascism. That's what we're talking about here. And the problem with that is that it's not going to be Trump forever. Now, I don't trust Trump that much right now, but I definitely trust him more than, who the Democrat could be in the next election. Like, if Gavin Newsom comes in, we have this precedent set where we just start federalizing cities. What if it's a protest for how the election turned out, or a protest for how, like, the next vaccine, and then they start deploying the National Guard to break that up?
I mean, but they already do that. Like, this is not Trump setting a precedent.
So
It's
there's
something that has happened
there's
many
11 times in the history of the United States where the National Guard that I could find that the National Guard has been deployed.
Lincoln.
Starting in 1894 during the Pullman strike, it goes all the way from 63 when Kennedy had the National Guard used to remove Governor George Walish's blockade of Washington, the University of Alabama. That ensured that 2 black students could enroll. You go to the Detroit riots in 67, the Washington riots in 68, the LA riots in 92, Hurricane Katrina in 2005, all the way up to 2025, where it happened here today. Trump previously deployed the National Guard in 2020 in response to the George Floyd protest. So it's not even the first time that Trump has deployed the National Guard. And it's not even the first time that he's done it in Washington, D.C. That's why I'm so surprised by the outrage. Yeah, the city's a dump. It is. You walk around, you don't feel safe. I rode on the train. I was working for the Miami Dolphins. I was part of their radio team. They were playing at that time, no, they were the Commanders, but the radio announcers kept calling them the Redskins by accident. It was funny.
They should.
I rode the train at night because I wanted to go see DC at night. So I was like, I'm going to take the train in. I took it from the University of Maryland all the way down, and I've never before in my life felt more unsafe than riding that train at night by myself. I didn't see a single cop. There were several homeless, I would say homeless-ish people. I couldn't tell if they were homeless or not, but they were talking to themselves, and that's often an indicator of someone who doesn't have a home, also very dirty and smelled.
Yeah.
So when I see those 3 things, you're dirty, you smell, and you're talking to yourself, I go, hobo. That's a hobo right there. There were tons of them. So to sit here and make the argument that Washington, D.C. is nice, it's not.
No.
Neither is San Francisco. And Trump's point, he wants to not only get rid of the hobos, he also wants to get rid of the graffiti, start repairing infrastructure across the city, tightening local criminal laws, clearing encampments. It's crazy to me that the left looks at this and goes, look at him being a Nazi, trying to clean up the city. I don't make the argument from the other side. How do they even have an argument that what he's doing is wrong?
So I agree with that. I agree that we should make homeless people go somewhere else, because I don't even like to see that shit in Florida. When I see homeless people on the sidewalk, I'm like, oh, they need to do something about that. So I'm with you there, and I'm with it with clearing up the garbage and stuff. But the reason that DC is so screwed up is because of the giant wealth gap. So this goes way back to when they started segregating these neighborhoods, and that's a whole systematic thing we don't need to get into. But the giant wealth gap in DC is like nowhere else. Like it has the highest poverty rate of people making less than $20,000 a year, and the highest percentage of people making over $200,000 a year because of all the money that gets pumped into to the lobbyists and everything. So that prices people out of certain neighborhoods and pushes them to certain sections. So like every measurable category of failure for a city is the highest in DC out of everywhere else. Like it's worse than California. Even homelessness per capita blows California out of the water. So all I'm saying is that I don't think that this is going to fundamentally change the problem forever. It's not going to fix the problem to deploy a couple hundred National Guard agents. Like this is a deeper systematic economic problem.
Well, Brandon, if you weren't such a negative Nancy about what President Trump is doing,
I'm just not a kiss ass.
You would have known that last week he signed the Ending Crime and Disorder in American Streets
Oh,
Act.
wow. Nice.
No, what do you mean, wow, nice? Do you know what the act
You know how
has
many
in it?
executive orders he signed so far that hasn't gone into action?
All right, it says encouraging involuntary commitment to mental institutions. That's very important. So they can go like, okay, this homeless guy is going in.
Yeah, bring back the psych wards.
What I mean,
Bring-
yes,
bring back
that's
the
what
psych
he's
wards.
doing. So what
Bring
are you
back
letting
the
him
psych
go-
wards?
Yeah, he's bringing back the psych wards.
How many psych wards is he opening up?
Well, it's inside the bill. I don't have the number here, but it's inside the bill.
I'll
He's gonna
believe
bring
it
them
when I
back.
see it.
I do believe.
No,
it.
you won't. I can guarantee
Yeah,
you will
I
not.
would agree with that. You know, it's crazy. I was thinking about it. The last time I went to DC before the last time we were there was in 2007 or 8. I was in a fraternity, and part of the pledge, you were in a fraternity as
Yeah.
well, right? So they had field trips where you'd go with your pledge brothers as a bonding experience. And the spring semester would always go to DC, and the fall semester would always take a trip to New York. And what they did is they got 2 of the pledge brothers to stay sober, and the other 8 or 10 got wasted. And what we did was the sober ones drove the wasted ones for the weekend all the way up to DC. We went down to DC and we check into it couldn't have been more than a $100.
Which group were you in?
I was in the sober. At that point, I know it was a long time ago. So believe me, if I'm the sober one, just imagine where the rest of those guys are today. We're driving. We get to a hotel. Couldn't have been more than $100 a night hotel. It was in the shittiest part of town. And a guy comes up as we park the car, and he comes. We had 2 cars. There was 4 guys in one car, 4 guys in another. The guy comes up to the car and goes, "Hey, for like $20 a night, I can watch your car and make sure nobody breaks into it." And we were like, "No, we're good, thank you." We went to go check in. As we're checking in, we hear the car alarms going off. The guy that told us if we gave him $20 to make sure our cars wouldn't get broken into, broke into the cars because we want to give him the $20. That city has not been a nice place in my entire lifetime that I can remember. So if he's going to deploy the National Guard, deploy him. Let him actually try and make the area a better area.
You know, fun fact, what makes DC unique, by the way, too, local law enforcement can't change any laws unless Congress approves of it. So if local law enforcement wants to do a new policy, it has to go through Congress, get approved by Congress for them to implement it. So unique to any other city in that way. So Congress is basically in charge of DC.
Well, that makes perfect. It's the federal district.
Yeah.
It's not a state. It's not a city assigned to any other state.
That's what we did sign.
It is by design, which is why all the campaigns, like you saw Muriel Bowser, the mayor, who I hate for personal reasons as well as political ones, came out and said, this is why we're so big on the push for DC statehood. They want to make DC its own separate state so that they can do all this stuff to make it more like state governments. It's not supposed to be a state. It's not supposed to be
Not at all.
assigned to any state. It is supposed to be an independent federal district.
Well-
So the Trump deploying federal military resources and federal law enforcement to restore order to a federal district makes perfect sense.
I want
Yeah.
to tie this into Seth Rich and his murder in just a second, but you have clips of what did you have there? You had Trump?
This was just Trump declaring, it's Liberation Day. We're taking our
Liberation
key-
Day in DC. We are taking our capital back. 3 exclamation marks, or is that 4? I can always tell how serious he is by the amount of
That's
exclamation
3.
marks.
That's
3.
3.
Yeah,
So not
Washington,
as
D.C. will be
serious.
liberated today. Crime, savagery, filth, and scum will disappear. So, I mean, it's brilliant
I will
positioning
make our capital great again.
Brilliant
The
positioning on
days-
his part, because, if you're against this, what are you, I'm the pro-crime, savagery, filth, and scum party now.
Okay, I quickly fixed the border. Is that where he should have used the M hyphen? The
Yeah,
M dash?
That's how you know it's
Yeah.
not ChatGPT.
0 illegals in the last 3 months. You know it's not ChatGPT just by the way he types.
Yep.
All capitals in weird places. 0 illegals in the last 3 months. DC is next. I love this. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. What do you have next?
Then there's back to Big
And
Balls
Brandon,
getting
you
the
think this
snot
is fake?
beat out
Yeah,
of
I
him.
don't know. That looks kind of like Hollywood, guys.
I mean, it is a lot of blood. I feel bad the guy was attacked, but was he Was he shirtless when he got attacked? How do you
No,
get all
I think
that?
that's a shirt right there.
He took the shirt off, I believe,
For dramatic
to try to
effect.
staunch the bleeding in his
come
face.
on, guys.
And so all that blood
Brandon,
dripped
I
down
have
from
a
his
picture
face?
of you bleeding shirtless.
Yeah, that's
he got his
real.
face stomped
That's
on.
real.
Yeah.
Like, do you have it? He got his nose broken and had a mild concussion. Like, you have any idea how much?
We get that
Well,
verified.
Well, okay,
injuries
when
like
you
that
when
bleed?
you break your nose, it's a lot of
You
blood.
always take your shirt off
And
to cover your
because-
nose. It's-
I want to go see him.
If you want to know more about this, Amy and I did a whole thing where we broke down all this over on her show, Dangerous Conversations. But like, when you know who it was who attacked him, it was a group of like between 8 and 10 black teenagers. What is the move anytime a group like that attacks somebody? Knock them to the ground, stomp on their head.
Yeah.
You see that 100% of the time. That's what happened to him. So like, the amount of blood that comes out, like, you underestimate how much you bleed when you get your face stomped on by 8 to 10 people.
Oh yeah, any cuts in your head? Like well, never mind.
What do you have next?
And then we'll get into these were the people protesting the.
Did you have a
thing.
video of Trump
I-
though? I thought I
yeah,
saw
we
a video.
do have a video of
Yeah,
Trump.
but I want to hear him speak.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Well-
King.
there we go.
And worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before.
So you can see he can cite the exact statutes that authorize this. Like, anyone trying to say this is against the law is unfortunately incorrect. You can agree or disagree with the decision, whatever, but you can't say it's illegal. It's well within his authority to do this.
The one thing I saw everybody, again, the keyboard warriors going off about was he at one point said he's giving the National Guard the authority to do whatever the hell they want to do. And that's what everybody was quoting yesterday, was doing whatever the hell they want to do.
that's for
What
dramatic-
about my rights? Yeah, Trump
Dramatic
talks
effect.
off the cuff
Man,
all the time.
I know National Guardsmen. I have family who have been National Guardsmen. What National Guardsmen want to do is eat pizza and watch Netflix out of sight of their commanding officer and do as little as possible when they are deployed. Because these are guys who enlist basically for college and a paycheck. Now, of course, you know, they're military, so respect and thank them for their service. But these are not guys who are like desperate to go out and roam the streets,
Chris
shooting
Cappy,
people out of a
I think he was
helicopter.
in the National Guard.
Yeah, like there are some
And he
real
did 2
great
tours
guys
in
in the
there.
National Guard, but they are not going to DC in anticipation of, man, I can't wait to implement a tyrannical crackdown. Like they will do what they are told to do and abide by the military wisdom of, if you don't see a commanding officer and they can't tell you to do something, you don't
Pizza
have to do it.
Netflix. Yeah.
Question: what's more likely between these two things, that this is a distraction from the Epstein stuff, or the Epstein stuff is a distraction from this? Because I've heard
I
both.
don't think the Epstein stuff would be a distraction from this. If
No, this
anything,
is real.
no,
Yeah.
no, it could be fake though.
What, that DC's a hellhole?
No, that they're trying to implement like some type of martial law federalization type of thing.
Well, I
and
saw the
testing it out.
National Guards deployed yesterday. So you're telling me that footage was not real?
No, I'm not saying that was fake. I'm saying that
They're distracting us with Epstein to try to cover up the
Like they
federalization of all our
front-ran it.
cities. And two
That'd
things,
be such a
two things can be true at once.
But that one
Like,
is not true.
Hey, to distract
Don't-
you,
don't assume anything.
Epstein has been going on since 2006.
to distract you from my fascist takeover, I'm going to pretend to be a
Washington,
pedophile.
DC in 2025.
call me a child molester, as long as it doesn't make you pay attention to me being
no,
a
Ben,
fascist.
I've heard both theories the last couple of days. That's
But,
where, that's where
I
people
think
are
all,
at.
all the
But-
things can be true.
That's what the
Can
people
I-
are. That's what's on the people's minds today.
Look, Rob made a good point that throughout his whole adult life, it's never been nice in DC. All right, some of my favorite punk bands are from DC.
I don't think it's ever been nice there before
No.
once.
The thing is the wage disparity, like the inequality, as the left likes to say it.
Wealth gap.
Yeah, the wealth gap. You have lobby guys that they're making $300 to like $1 million a year. You have people that work in governments that are making, like legally they're making 200,000, but we know their spreads. And then you have all the help, people that clean bathrooms, people that do all the lower level jobs, and that's why you get such great punk bands like the Bad Brains, Minor Threat, teen idols.
That's why you get great punk bands?
Yeah, they produce some of the greatest punk bands in the world, and it's rough, and it's always gonna be rough. It's been rough since day one. Like, I like the spirit that Trump has, but it's not gonna make it nice.
No, I at least remember a time where New York Times was safe. It was in the 90s after Giuliani cleaned all the trash out. I remember a time where Philadelphia was safe, and my mother and I when I had to go to doctor's appointments, we wouldn't go to New York. Our specialists were in Philly. That's because we were South Jersey. It was quicker to go there than to go to New York. We were safe to walk around the streets of Philadelphia. I do not feel that way today. Look at what's going on in Kensington, where you see people walking around bent over on fentanyl like zombies, totally zonked out. These big democratic cities are no longer safe. So do I have a problem with Trump doing everything he can within his power that's legal to make the streets safer? Yeah, why would you be against that? Provide an argument. Oh, I don't like Trump. He's a dictator. Okay, well, guess what? Democracy wasn't working in those cities. Maybe we need a little dictator, a little legal dictator.
I'm with you. There's some good things about fascism. Like what Bukele's doing is great, and it's very good if that person's going to be in power for a long time. Like I'm all for Trump doing this to every single city. But the scary thing is the precedent that sets for the next person. Like if it's Newsom next, then that could take a whole different turn.
But that's the difference in that. You can say one thing is good and another thing is bad without having to, acknowledge the comparison between them. Like, it is good when good people do good things for good reasons, and it is bad when bad people do bad things for bad reasons. It is good when Trump uses the military to crack down on street crime in the capital and potentially restore order to our other major cities. It is bad if potential future President Gavin Newsom marches the National Guard into your city and locks you up if you protest the outcome of a dubious election. You know they do it.
And it's setting the precedent.
But Newsom doesn't need the precedent because it's already legal for the president to do this. It's already happened, as Rob said, like at least 11 times, to say nothing of all the times the state governors have called up their own National Guard.
The law is a funny thing, though, that you can manipulate. You could take this and say, okay, it's dangerous for the well-being of people that there's people out there protesting the outcome of an election or protesting the demand to take a vaccine. So, the law is a funny thing like that, where you don't actually have to follow it as it is literally.
Yeah, well, protests against suspicious election outcomes can be
looked
good.
At the same way as homeless people.
Yes, they can. They can be good or they can be bad. Rioting is a bad thing. Even for those of us who truly believe that January 6th was like a fed up from top to bottom, it was not a good thing for people to riot and break stuff in the Capitol. But people tend to forget that when Trump won in 2016, there was a giant Democrat riot in D.C. That's where we got a lot of the footage of, the people, like the woman in the vest screaming at the sky. That's the liberal reaction gif. That's where that comes from. People were rioting in the Capitol, or the capital city at least. Nobody talks about it. And then people protested the 2020 election nonviolently. There shouldn't be a crackdown on that.
So one of the things I wanted to get into here was okay, we're going to make D.C. safer. That's great. Let's talk about some of the things that happened in D.C. prior to Trump federalizing it. Specifically, one instance, July 10th of 2016. Do you guys know what happened on July 10th of 2016?
I mean, I do because I'm looking at the video, but
27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot in the back twice while walking home in the Bloomingdale neighborhood of Washington, D.C. There are people on the internet who have claimed that Seth Rich was the source of DNC emails, and I'll show you how this ties into Trump federalizing D.C. in just a second. There were people on the internet claiming that Rich was the source of the DNC email leaked to WikiLeaks and that he was killed as part of a cover-up of the WikiLeaks emails. If you forget the WikiLeaks emails, they were internal emails and documents from the Democratic Party, from the DNC, from early 2015 to May of 2016, the communications in those emails apparently showed favoritism or bias towards Hillary Clinton during the primary against Bernie Sanders. That's why people say to this day that the DNC fucked Bernie out of the 2016 nomination, again in 2020, again in 2024. And at this point, he said on Meet the Press this weekend he's too old to run. He's not going to try again. However, the murder happened just weeks before WikiLeaks began releasing the DNC emails, but WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange made public comments about Seth Rich's murder during this interview, which took place sometime in 2014, if we could play that clip.
Donald Trump has had a disastrous few weeks. If you look at the polls, he needs a miracle. In the American political lexicon, there's such a thing as the October surprise. The stuff that you're sitting on, is an October surprise in there?
We
Do
never
you
sit
even
on
know what
material.
you're sitting on?
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
That was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
no, there's no finding. So
What are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
We don't comment on who our sources
but
are.
why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
Okay, so the reason I bring this up, because you see what's going on with the Epstein files. According to reports that came out earlier this morning, James Comer said that Bill Clinton is the focus of the Epstein investigation. Then you look at Russiagate, and very high-level officials with Obama working with Hillary Clinton are implicated in that. There seems to be a focus on bringing these people from the left to justice. So I started going down this rabbit hole of, could there be a way that Donald Trump could have federalized Washington, D.C., I know it's a stretch, Washington, D.C., in an effort to reopen the investigation? Because to this day, here we are more than 12 years later, there still has not been any arrests in the Seth Rich murder. Officially, the case remains open. More accurately, it's unsolved and cold. Could Trump federalizing the National Guard into D.C. and taking over the Metropolitan Police Department be a way for him to reopen the investigation into Seth Rich's murder? So I asked ChatGPT, would Trump deploying the National Guard in any way have any effect in any situation on reopening the investigation into Seth Rich's murder? ChatGPT said, Trump deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C., would not by itself reopen the Seth Rich murder investigation. It listed jurisdiction over the case and said that Seth Rich's murder is a local homicide case handled by the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. Even if Trump federalizes the D.C. Guard or takes over MPD, reopening a closed or cold case would still require law enforcement leadership from the MPD or FBI to make that decision. Well, Trump already has.
All right, Cash, come on.
Trump already has the FBI in his pocket, but he didn't have the MPD until. So I asked the following question. What has Trump put in charge of, or who has Trump put in charge of overseeing the MPD? It said that Trump has put someone in charge of overseeing the Metropolitan Police Department. I said, who was that person? It said that person is General Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, as well as DEA Administrator Terry Cole. So I followed up with this question. Would those people be able to reopen the case into Seth Rich's murder? And it said yes. So yes, this could be a way of reopening the investigation into Seth Rich's murder. I don't think that it is, but I wanted to bring this to you guys. Do you guys think there's any way?
Here's the thing.
Wow.
So if they want to redeem themselves, they're just damaged, if not destroyed, reputation right now. If they actually go through with the Clinton thing and the Seth Rich thing, and then there's another guy that was equal situation to Seth Rich during that same time period, that's a road to redemption for me if they actually do anything against Bill Clinton or Bill Barr, because those guys right there, like those are like part of the nucleus of this thing that's hijacked the government for the last 40 years. Starting in the 80s, Iran-Contra, this network of CIA people like Bill Barr, Bill Clinton, and Epstein have hijacked the government, and if they're serious about going after them, then that's a serious war on the deep state. But if it's just a show, then it's going to blow over quickly.
All right, you mentioned war. We can shift. Oh, go ahead. What did you want to say?
No, back to that theory. Like I've seen Brandon's shirt less stretched than that. But hey,
Not today.
Not today. But that's interesting. That's very like. How do you come up with this?
It's maybe
He's
not
a creative guy. Give him
maybe not
credit.
the point, but probably at least a helpful side bonus.
Yes, it'd be great if, by the way, he makes DC great and we find out who murdered Seth Rich. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
I could see why people on the left wouldn't want Trump to be doing this.
And Clinton goes
specifically higher up in the DNC.
The
Clinton goes down.
biggest fear on the left, I think, with this whole thing is that he's going to do it and it's going to work. That he is going to have DC cleaned up in like a month. Because just like with Bukele and El Salvador, they're going to see this was not only possible, but extremely easy to do. And all that was lacking was the simple force of will to get it done, which means they are all complicit in allowing this to happen for decades and decades in the capital and all our biggest cities. So hopefully Trump actually brings the war to them.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.